Hi, my name is Chrystal Trapani, and I'm the lead instructional technologist, digital accessibility architect at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. Thank you for taking the time to visit my poster. I hope you're having a fun and enriching experience in Denver. Digital accessibility is the practice of making digital content usable by everyone, including disabled individuals. On April 24, 2024, the Federal Registrar published the Department of Justice's final rule updating its regulations for Titles II and III of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This update provides specific requirements for ensuring websites, digital content, and mobile applications are accessible to disabled people. WCAG 2.1 Level AA success criteria is the technical standard that digital assets must comply with. The purpose of the ADA update was to provide guidance in bringing apps to compliance. A tertiary goal is to acknowledge that most state and local and government entities, including institutions of higher education, are not meeting WCAG 2.1 Level AA standards across the board. Many institutions of higher education websites are inaccessible, which often disenfranchises students with disabilities in ways that negatively impact their degree program progress, self-esteem, and self-sufficiency. This is continually negatively impacting more individuals as more disabled students than ever are enrolling in institutions of higher education. Nearly all students enrolled in institutions of higher education interviewed for the ADA update reported experiencing access need during the COVID-19 pandemic. An institution's website is one of the first interactions many students have with a school, and they may need to access materials from the website regularly during their degree program. If individuals cannot access information on a website due to an access barrier, they will probably leave it. Institutional leaders must understand the issues persist on their websites to help address compliance issues. The ADA update gives institutions of higher education a firm deadline to bring their content, including their websites, into compliance. Websites are the primary access point for many and may be indicative of issues with deeper digital materials, such as other pages on the website and learning materials. This study aims to expand upon prior studies in light of the current update by answering two research questions. Research question 1. With the update to the ADA Titles II and III, are institutional websites compliant with Section 508 guidelines and WCAG 2.1 standards? Research question 2. If not, which WCAG 2.1 standard violations are most abundant? To answer these questions, the homepages of 279 United States institutions were evaluated using two automated testing tools. The compliance data from the automated tools is used to evaluate which violations are most common. Answering these questions, when considering the sample size, will inform the scholarly community and inform institutions of the level of compliance across institutions. 1 in 4 individuals in the United States has a disability. In the United States, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, disabled individuals are promised equal access to most areas of society, including education and digital environments. The number of enrolled disabled students continues to rise. Online learning spaces positively impact some disabled students due to their ability to mitigate and/or control their symptoms of their disability. Disabled students achieve the same levels of academic success when course materials are accessible. When learning experiences are inaccessible, barriers to success are created. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, are internationally recognized guidelines that ensure digital content is accessible to disabled people. WCAG follows the following guiding principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, or POUR. Each principle relates to how a disabled individual interacts with the content. Each version of WCAG has 3 success criteria referred to as levels A, AA, and AAA. Level A has a minimal impact on design, whereas level AAA has a high impact on design, and many spaces will find it impossible to meet those standards. Automated accessibility tools are widely used in evaluating websites. Most studies support using multiple tools to help account for differences in the software and reporting. The only way to achieve a full review is to have an accessibility expert review a website, because not everything can be reviewed with a tool. However, a manual review is costly and exceptionally time-consuming, so a developer may only want to advocate for this level of review once a website is complete. Despite the tool's limitations, automatic accessibility checkers allow the detection of known problems that often can be resolved easily. Technological advancements and continual website adjustments create a scenario where institutional web pages habitually change and must be continually reevaluated. Since late 2019, 32 studies have reviewed institutional homepages across 50 countries, with only 3 focused on institutions of higher education in the United States. A 2023 study reviews 330 institutions from 33 countries, including the U.S., but no breakdown by country is provided. A 2019 study reviews 100 historically black colleges and university homepages, and a 2019 study reviews 325 U.S. community college homepages. While there are many automated tools to check for accessibility compliance, the 3 most common tools utilized in studies are WAVE, A-Checker, TAW, and most studies using more than one tool to conduct their analysis. Most studies reported that none of the websites reviewed meet web accessibility standards. A convenient sample of higher education institutions in the United States currently holding the Carnegie Classification of Institutions of Higher Educations designated as a Research 1 or Research 2 was used to collect this data. The study sample of institutional websites will provide a broader, current overview of the institutions in the United States. Consistent with current studies, 2 web accessibility tools were selected to review the institution's homepages, A-Checker and Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool, or WAVE. A-Checker is a website where users input a URL and the tool generates a report for WCAG 2.0 compliance. WAVE is a browser extension available in Chrome, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. When the extension is activated, a WCAG 2.2 guideline compliance report is generated in the sidebar. Local versions of the websites were collected to ensure the study's repeatability and reproducibility. The main research question regarding the accessibility of the institution's homepages is answered via descriptive statistics including mean, median, and mode, which are used to ascertain the dataset's average and basic percentages. Additionally, measures of variability, including range and standard deviation, are used to determine how much the data varies from the central values. When analyzing the homepages with A-Checker, there is a considerable range in the recurrence of errors. The highest number of errors was on Middle Tennessee State University's homepage with 173 errors, followed by Morgan State University with 129 errors, and Long Island University with 108 errors. Many institutions have few to no errors, with 14.5% of web pages having no errors and 79.71% having 20 errors or less. When analyzing the homepages with WAVE, there's a considerable range in the recurrence of errors. The highest number of errors belongs to Long Island University's homepage with 207, Texas Tech University with 91, and the University of Pittsburgh campus with 65. Many institutions, again, have few to no errors, with 10.39% of websites having no errors and 85.66% having 20 errors or less. The most common errors on U.S. websites include the ability to increase text size, link purpose, and contrast. Most websites are not in compliance with accessibility standards. There are errors that generally may be quickly identified and resolved with ease. WCAG 1.4.4 Level AA is the ability to resize text, and it was the most common error. This success criteria not only impacts disabled individuals, but also those on mobile technologies. The goal of this criteria is that text should be able to be enlarged up to 200% before distortion begins, or assistive technology is needed. Mobile users may need this technology as phone screens varies, and not all users have access to a computer. Most college students are, in fact, accessing course materials via mobile technology. WCAG 2.4.4 Level AA is determining the purpose of a link, and it's the second most common error. It refers to generic link text such as click here or read more. This impacts those using assistive technology. When using these technologies, users are able to review all links from a page in alphabetical order. If a user is left with a list of click here for more information, they will not find that information useful. Links should be descriptive and let the user know exactly where the link will take them. WCAG 3.3.2 Level A is labels and instructions for inputs, and it's the third most common error. This helps users understand how to fill out form fields on a website. It also includes items like radio buttons and checkboxes. This includes things like indicating if a phone number should be listed with an area code, and if the area code should be in brackets or not. WCAG 1.4.3 Level AA are contrast errors. This is also a common error, but difficult to quantify due to how a checker and wave provide the data. This is more colloquially referred to as color contrast. This impacts the readability of a web page when considering the color of text against the color of the background. Contrast errors 1.4.3 highlight the importance of using more than one tool when assessing a website, as a checker indicated 50 errors where wave indicated 1,200. There are many accessibility errors across both levels of conformance. Two of the three most common errors, 2.4.4 and 3.3.2, are level A, which is the lowest level of conformance. Many level A errors cause issues for all users. WCAG 2.1 level AA is the required compliance level. Institutions must begin to work to resolve these issues before the 2026-2027 compliance deadlines. U.S. institutions are sometimes faring more positively when it comes to digital accessibility standards being met. When compared to prior studies, U.S. institutions are less likely to have errors than other institutions across the globe. The findings of the study do not vary greatly from prior similar studies. There have been many updates to accessibility-based laws and guidelines, but they still have not created an environment that has brought institutions into full compliance. If someone, such as an instructional designer or an instructional technologist, who understands the importance of meeting students' needs, were to advocate on behalf of disabled students, changes may occur. Instructional designers in higher education have a variety of roles, including curriculum design, faculty support, student advocacy, and positively supporting and transforming learning practices at an institution. Every institution reviewed in the study has at least one instructional designer on staff. Institutional leaders often identify instructional designers as best suited to emphasize accessibility and inclusivity, particularly in online spaces, due to the student-focused nature of their craft. The role of the instructional designer has changed greatly since the COVID-19 pandemic. They use their unique position at an institution to positively impact change. Since institutions update their websites regularly, and nearly all institutions reviewed will need to make updates to comply with the new Department of Justice ruling, advocacy must begin now. With the Department of Justice's 2024 ruling, the instructional designer, as part of the institutional higher education community, is also now responsible for ensuring content meets digital accessibility standards, including WCAG 2.1 Level AA. Future research must consider the implications of ever-changing role of instructional designers, the compliance or lack of institutional web pages, and strategies institutions implement to meet compliance. It must be better understood how institutions are working to make their web pages accessible, as the exemplars who are meeting the WCAG standards may be used as templates for other institutions of higher education. This research concentrated on the landing pages of only 279 institutions, but there are nearly 4,000 colleges and universities in the U.S. A larger sampling should be conducted to offer a broader view of WCAG 2.1 Level AA compliance. The sampling was performed once, and local versions of the web pages were saved. Even a perfect website score can change with a minuscule adjustment that an end user may not even notice. For this reason, the number and types of errors may be incorrect if reviewed without the local files. Most critically, automated tools cannot currently reveal all accessibility errors. For true, reliable data, web pages should be reviewed by an accessibility expert to compile a more robust compliance overview. Online learning in higher education has grown exponentially since the COVID-19 pandemic. Paired with the Department of Justice's updated ruling, and digital materials must meet WCAG 2.1 Level AA standards. Instructional designers are uniquely positioned at institutions of higher education to positively impact decisions and help steer conversations towards digital accessibility needs. Due to the changes in technology, web pages and digital course content are continually evolving. The homepage may be the digital front door of an institution, but the learning materials and other web pages are what is inside the door, and their accessibility is critical to student success. This study may be replicated easily, and the tools may also be used to evaluate other digital learning materials as long as they are web-based. The moment a document is placed in a web space, such as an email or a learning management system, it's required to meet the WCAG standards as it has become web-based digital material. While COVID-19 was devastating, a positive that came from it was a renewed focus on digital accessibility. Instructional designers, with their unique skill set that requires them to be student-focused, are positioned in such a way that they can continue accessibility conversations to ensure positive changes continue. While the Department of Justice has ensured that the conversation about digital accessibility will continue for several years, changes must start now instead of waiting for the deadline. Thank you for taking the time to review my poster. I hope you have a great conference. Before you leave, I want to leave you with my favorite accessibility question for you to ponder. If you aren't designing accessible content, who are you comfortable excluding?